This is Chuck Marfione from All Springs Nylon, and I'm here in the offices of LR Bags Company, and I have the privilege of working here with Lloyd Bags and Mike Newsom, who's the marketing director, and of course we all know what Lloyd does here, and they're going to show us around here, and we're going to get a great look at what goes on underneath this roof.
Okay, so we're going to take you guys on a little bit of a shop tour to show you the production process, the detail that goes into everything that we make by hand, and also the testing process. Like I was saying earlier, there's nothing more important than reliability. You can have the best sounding system in the world, but if it breaks in the middle of your show, it's pretty much worthless. So this is Rioni. He's been with the company for 13 years in production. So he's a master at what he does, and he's working on a system that you saw on Lloyd's guitar, his handmade guitar. This is called the Lyric Classical. We came up with this system about 3-4 years ago. It's new microphone technology. The whole purpose of this is to engineer a microphone that goes inside the guitar but behave like it's a guitar that's mic'd in a studio. A lot of tricks in that, and it took Lloyd about 30 years working with a pressure zone mic to figure that out, but he finally cracked the code, and it's been an extremely successful product for us. This is what's on the inside of the plastic housing for Anthem SL classical microphone. We call this the True Mic. A lot of physics goes into this. We understand the mechanics of the instrument, and instead of actually having to put tons of EQ in the preamp and have to adjust for throwing out a lot of the inside of the instrument, we figured out a way to do that mechanically. So it's a little bit complicated, but what this is called a pressure zone mic. And what a pressure zone mic does is it averages what it's attached to. So this is attached to the speaker of the guitar right on the top, and we're trying to average a really large even distribution of that, because that's what a microphone would do outside the instrument. And in addition to that, it's a noise canceling capsule. The noise cancellation rejects all the reflections inside the box, because if you actually put a microphone inside a guitar, it doesn't sound very good. So that's one of the tricks, is we figured out a way to cancel the box. And that allows us to have a microphone that's fully isolated inside the instrument, really close to the top, so it has high gain before feedback. And because it rejects all these reflections in the box, we can use a lot more of this microphone and then put less EQ on the actual preamp. And it behaves a lot like a microphone outside the instrument, which is kind of the holy grail. You want that mic guitar sound, but it's engineered for live performance, and it's isolated, feedback resistant, really direct enough to cut through a mix, but still gives you that studio sound quality. Micah is actually doing the assembly of housing. He's putting the plastic housing around the actual microphone capsule, and it sits in a little kind of a shock mount. Right?
Yeah. We actually bend the wires out of the way so they don't interfere with the foam at all.
So this foam that we use, that's like, the density is highly tuned. A lot of care goes into the actual material that we use, because like I said, it's all done mechanically. It's about the physics. So here's our I-beam system that's actually specifically designed for classical instruments or classical guitar. There's a center notched out here for the center bracing on a classical instrument. This is a contact transducer that we actually worked with Jackson Brown to create about, I would say, a little over a decade ago. It's been a very successful product. It's really simple to install. I would still take it to a professional, because it's always best to have somebody that really knows what they're doing, but very non-invasive. You have to drill for the in-pin jack, but other than that, this is peel and stick VHB. I can show you how it works. Peel it, stick it to the top, no glue necessary. What you're going to get from the sound of this is there's very woody tone, very natural and warm. It's actually transducing the top of the instrument, but it's also voiced for the nylon string instrument. So this is paired with a preamp that has a pre-contoured EQ curve that's supposed to track the natural dynamics of that instrument as closely as possible. This is actually the sensor that goes inside the housing of the I-beam. It's a little flexible PC board. But a lot of our products have this flexibility, and they're able to move with the instrument, and that's how they track the dynamics of the top. This is our element sensor. This is used on a number of our products. We have standalone undersaddle systems, the Element Active VTC for nylon string. We have the Element Active system for nylon string. Once again, it's the same sensor that we'd use for our other guitars, but with a different voicing in the actual preamp to match that instrument. This is a really special undersaddle pickup. It's very different than what you would typically find on the market. If you notice that it's very flexible. It's not a compression sensitive pickup. It's actually moving with the vibrations of the top of the instrument. So what you'll notice with this system is it's much more body responsive than you'd find with just a typical undersaddle. It's going to read those vibrations in the bridge and give that kind of that wood sound, that warmth that you would expect from an acoustic instrument, not that brittle, bright sound. Another thing is, because of that, it helps mitigate the quack that you would typically find with undersaddle pickups, because you're not getting that mechanical push down onto the piezo. It's just a different way of reading it in the same neighborhood. I'll show you the sensor. This is actually inside of the shielding. It's just a flexible piezo film. Very simple design, actually. When it's all together, there's very few elements. We wanted to make something that was very reliable, so we removed all the elements that we could, and that's where the name came from. Because if we remove the elements, you have less things going between the instrument and the electronics, and it has a better coupling with the instrument for higher fidelity. So that's our element. So earlier I was talking about how every instrument's different. They're not designed to be amplified, so there's a lot of challenges, and there's a broad range of systems. And because there's no one-size-fits-all for every instrument, I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of outboard electronics. We have a couple really popular products. The Paracoustic DI, which you may have seen, this has been out for about 15 years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we released an upgraded version with a few additional features called the Venue DI. We've included a tuner and a couple foot switches. One's a mute and the other one's a volume boost. So the reason why I want to talk about these products is because this allows you to be your own sound man at any venue, and it gives you consistency. So there's equalization for dialing out problematic frequencies. There's ways of fighting feedback, and these systems pair well with all of our systems, including other brands' pickups as well. This will enhance the sound of other brands' pickups. Warren's actually, what's the step that you're doing here, Warren?
This is the final step right now. Just putting on the knobs on all the pots.
So these are all hand assembled here in California. This is such a sturdy case that we've actually ran it over with Lloyd's SUV, and it still worked. So that's how we test our products here. We run them over with cars. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into the design of this product. If you notice that the knobs are recessed, that's all for a reason. It's so you don't kick the knobs when you're performing live. You have really easy silk screen on here, really easy to read, larger knobs. If you're on a dark stage, you want to be able to EQ your instrument. And the built-in tuner is also really bright, easy to read. Nice display. So here's our quality control department. One of the most important things that allows our brand to have a really good advantage in the marketplace. Paul Rhoda is the head of quality control, and Every single product that gets shipped out gets hand tested by Paul or somebody that he works with. We don't do any batch testing here. Everything's 100% tested.
So we run through every feature that your product's actually going to have, and we test it 100%. That's from volume control to the trim pots to every piece of circuitry. And I mean, it might look like madness, but it's not. The multimeter checks the current draw of every product, and that's actually probably the best test we have. That is the initial, if your current's not right, your current draw's not right, something's not right with the preamp. And automatically it gets thrown off to the side and either fixed or just out of production. What we do, we run a sine wave, a sweep wave from 20 to 20,000 hertz. So you're getting the whole audio frequency of what the human ear can hear. And that's what we're running through. So we're getting a big picture of what's going on. This is a special engineered up jig by Justin over there, our engineer. And it tests the compression. So we're not just testing to make sure the circuit's working, we're making sure it's the compressing exactly the way we want it to. I mean, I guarantee no one else is testing any of their electronics to this. So you push a mid input and it has another board, so as you'll see, it's clamping down on the circuit, showing what it's actually doing when it's compressing. And then we do that on also the low, which this doesn't give you much information. All it's really doing is telling you it's working. And then you run the volume up and down, check the smoothness and the taper of it just to make sure it's exactly the way we like it. Been doing quality control for over 10 years. Automatically I feel something that's even slightly off. I'll know, just by the feel. And then we check the presence on this, which is also, since it's a nylon string, it's not very noticeable to someone who hasn't trained it, but you'll see the presence are going in and out. Then I roll the trim pot. It's very slight and very, it's not as noticeable on like some other products. It's a lot bigger. It's very smooth. And that is a 100% tested and passed product. It goes through one more testing process. When we throw the mic on it, then we test it one more time just to make sure that when the customer gets it, it's going to actually work when it's in the guitar.
Long story short, there's a reason for all this testing. Is we have a lot of respect for what you do as a player, and things have to be just right before they leave our factory, or else we just don't feel good about it. So we put a lot of time and care into this. This is why our products might not be the least expensive on the market, and we're totally fine with that. We're going for the best possible amplification that we can create. It's a lot more fun that way, and we respect high-end instruments and great players, so we try to keep to those high standards.
I hope you've enjoyed this visit to LR Bags and found it informative. If you'd like any additional information, you can certainly find it on our website. That's allstringsnylon.com.
I'd like to thank allstringsnylon.com for coming by the shop. I hope you enjoyed the visit to the Central Coast of California. Sorry you didn't get to see the beautiful area that we live in. And I want to say thank you for all of our customers. You're the reason why we're so excited being in business and relentlessly pursuing acoustic amplification.